Man, this is Deion Dawkins, man, and you're listening to The Scoop on owlscoop.com. You already know.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to The Scoop, owlscoop.com's podcast, Season 7, Episode 30. I'm John DiCarlo, joined by Kyle Gauss. The rest of the crew is currently covering Temple's Pro Day down at the Star Complex. So it's just Kyle and I. We'll have some Pro Day coverage coming up in the next couple of days, but it's just Kyle and I. What's going on?
Nada. We've already talked for an hour. Little inside baseball.
Yes, a big part of this week's podcast is going to be our interview with Temple's Khalif Battle. Again, if you're a Temple basketball fan, you know how important he was to the team. He was averaging, shade over 21 points a game before he got hurt in early December. So we talked to him. We'll have that interview for you. We'll talk a little spring football as well. And again, we'll have some pro day coverage coming up, in the coming days from Dante Colonelli and our staff. Not a ton of draftable guys there. We're told today that Randall Jones did not show up to pro day. Not really sure, but Sean Bradley's down there. Obviously Chappelle's there. So kind of miss not being there. Sometimes the fun part of covering pro day is just, seeing who shows up. But famous number 30s.
Bernard Pierce.
What's that?
Bernard Pierce.
I don't know why I'm sure there are more famous ones. Charlie Gardner popped into my head.
Hey, were they on the Eagles or the Raiders?
I thought he was, with the Eagles, he was 25.
Oh, I'm asking. He was pre my time.
I thought he was 30. Steph Curry, obviously.
Ken Griffey Jr. Terrell Davis.
Yeah. So a lot more famous ones than Bernard Pierce.
Sheed.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Sr.
Yeah. Yep.
Del Curry. We got dads and sons here.
Yes.
Special Father's Day edition of
the Scoop. So again, we'll play this Khalif Battle interview for you guys, and again, a lot of great insight that you'll hear here from him. He'll tell you in this interview that he was just cleared for basketball related activities on his way home today. Just kind of continue along with his recovery process and getting cleared for more. But again, for those of you who are fans of the program, that even after he did get injured and was out with that broken fifth metatarsal bone in the injury that he suffered against LaSalle, was still involved, still on the bench, live tweeting games. And it just, seems like a close team. And he talked about that. And really, we were kind of able to go pretty much up and down the roster with him and talk about, what he sees from some of the other players. So we'll play this interview for you and talk more about it on the other side. So we're very excited to have Temple's leading scorer, Khalif Battle, with us on the podcast this week. Khalif, thanks for joining us, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks for being with us. I really appreciate it. So all of you who listen to this podcast are Temple fans know that Khalif was having a really great season before he got hurt. He was averaging 21.4 points per game, 3.9 rebounds per game, shooting almost 49% from three-point range and nearly 54% from the field. Those are really great marks. Khalif, you've just been cleared. I think you've been cleared to resume normal basketball activities, correct?
Yeah.
What does that look like? And, is it just no restrictions now? You can work out. I mean, I know you posted something a few weeks ago on Instagram when you were dunking and had a couple of fans saying, does this mean he's going to be back for the conference tournament? And it caused some excitement, but are you pretty much, full go now? There's nothing you can't do?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't get the full go. I get so every time I went to the doctor, they gave me more that I can do. I go back Thursday. I'm on my way back home now. I go back tomorrow to get the full clearance, so I can start playing, 5-on-5 and start doing some competition stuff again. Cool. But I've been running. I just got out of the gym before I got in the car. I had about a good hour and a half of work running, shooting on the move, ball handling, finishing at the rim, a few dunks. But almost back to where I was before.
Caleb, I wonder if you can kind of rewind it back to December 1st. You're playing LaSalle. You step on Josh Nickelberry's foot on a dribble drive, and you end up breaking the fifth metatarsal in your foot. I'm wondering, did you know right away you were injured? And if so, what was kind of going through your head? When did you start to kind of really grasp like this could be a big deal?
When it first happened, I didn't really think anything of it. I mean, I heard some crack, but I'm like, whatever. I probably like heard something or rubbed something the wrong way. I heard a little crunch. It's on the floor. I saw coach looking at me. We made eye contact. So I'm like, you know what? I'm never really one to like try to miss anything because of an injury. So I try to get back up. I try to check back in, try to run it off. But it was to the point where I remember I tried to come off a screen, a pin down screen, and it was like when I got the ball and I tried to push off, it wasn't going. So I just went back to the locker room, went to the bag. It was hurting more and more to walk on it. I felt it just swelling up. And then the next day, we got X-rays and they told me in there. But before that, the whole leading up to it, I didn't think anything serious. I thought maybe at most I missed like 1 or 2 games. But when they told me, it was like numb feeling.
Yeah, I guess kind of just that's the physical aspect of it, but from the mental aspect of it, what was that kind of like just going through the realization of, hey, my season's over right when it felt like it was starting to pop off?
It was hard. It was hard. The people that know me know how much I sacrificed for this game. I didn't go home this summer. Just working out 3 times a day, just dreaming of, being a college basketball star. And then I had some hardships leading up to it. One of my closest friends in the world got shot and died this year. So, I kind of dedicated my season to him. And the last text he sent me before he passed away was he wanted me to get Player of the Year. So in my mind, I wanted to get Player of the Year and win the AAC championship and then go dancing after that. But I had that all in my mind. I thought we were figuring it out right before I got hurt, and then for that to happen, that's the part that really broke my heart. People go through injuries, people go through worse stuff. People in Ukraine right now, wish they had what I was going through right now. So I didn't really complain about that part. Just that part that I just wanted to get it from my friend, and I couldn't do that. So that's the only part that really hurt.
Caleb, I'm really, really sorry to hear that. Our condolences for that. I mean, to ask you about that, I mean, you're a human being just as much as you're a basketball player. How do you cope with that? How do you process that when you lose a friend that's that close to you?
I mean, just staying in the gym was like more of my getaway spot.
Mm-hmm.
Thinking back where he was, we was together our freshman year at Butler. He was just a warm-hearted kid. He came up to me. It was real cool. He was like, he just introduced himself to me. He was like, he heard about me and all that, but I didn't really know who he was. And he was such a nice person. I'm from North Jersey. We're not really like willing to say hi and everything to everybody. We just kind of walk past.
Uh-huh.
But he came up to me, and he kind of like instantly just broke down like this shell that I always had on people. And since then, we're always rocking with each other. I mean, we'll go. If I was in the gym, sometimes like the way I work out is weird. So I work out maybe 9 a.m. before class, 8 a.m. before class. Then I work out after practice. And then I might just go back to the gym at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And it's funny because he'll be right there with me. So right there. So I mean, I go with it by just staying in the gym and just thinking about the outcomes, all the people that sacrifice so much for me. Yeah. And I never think about just doing it for myself. I always think about the people who've done stuff for me, who paved the way, because without them, I wouldn't even be in this position. So
I'm very sorry to hear about that. I'm sorry for your loss. Caleb, in the next 2 games after you got hurt against Penn and Vanderbilt, your team found ways to win without you. And then there's 2 bad losses to St. Joe's and UCF where just nothing was going right. Then there was the canceled game against Drexel. Then you have the Del State game after that, a couple of days before Christmas, where Zach just went off and shot the hell out of the ball. And then from there on out, they did, I know that you guys didn't get to where you wanted to be this year and get into the NCAA tournament, but you got to 17 wins. There was some progress there. can you take me back as a member of the team? Did you guys kind of have some conversations after that St. Joe's game and the UCF game? Because it did seem like something kind of like did tangibly change after those two losses.
Yeah, it was more about instilling confidence. I tried to push guys out of their shell. I think when I was playing during the year, even in practice, a lot of times that, I was more the guy that they can rely on to, make something happen. But when I went down, just like now they got a lot of freshmen had to step up. They never been asked. So they had a tough task this year. I think they did a great job with it. But I mean, I've been talking about how good they were going to be from the summer when they first got here. I told everybody what I expected from them and how they're going to help this team tremendously, and I did that. Whether the other people that I told believed it or not, I told them what was going to happen. I think even when I told them, maybe they were shocked that I believed in them so much because I think they kind of shocked themselves some games. But I'm never shocked by success because you work for it, it's going to happen. Mm-hmm. So, just grabbing them. Sometimes I'll grab Zach or Jalil or something to come to the gym. I'll be in the scooter and I'll still try to, grab some managers and rebound for them and give them some drills to do while I'm right there critiquing what they should do, what they shouldn't do, the moves that they're going to get in the game, what's going to happen. So really it was just experience that I just try to give to them. And, they helped me too. I mean, when I was healthy, they always helped me by just bringing energy in the building every single day. Mm-hmm. So it works hand in hand.
Mm-hmm. Okay, if we have a couple of mailbag questions here, and these are from fans and subscribers on our message boards, and they got some good stuff here. This is a lot of the stuff the fans want to know. The first one that the screen name here is Keith90. And I'm sure you get this question a lot. His question is, while it was obviously disappointing not being able to play for most of the year, what do you think you gained from sitting on the bench as an observer this year that will help your game next year and help you get integrated back into the lineup?
I mean, it's not really a problem for me to get integrated back to the lineup. I mean, I've been playing basketball my whole life. That's not really the problem. The problem that I probably would say was the hardest thing that I had to learn was being a vocal leader. Mm-hmm. Most of my life, I've just been a leader by example. I never really did all the vocal lead, let's come together, let's do this, you got to do this. I really just led by example by just working hard. So that was new for me. And then holding everybody accountable. I think I held more people accountable ever since I've been injured, and my expectations for everybody is high, especially now going into this year because we see the potential that I've been talking about, that coach been talking about, and now it's like you can have as much potential as you want, but if you don't do nothing with it, so it doesn't matter. So mm-hmm. I'll say just being a leader every single day, and just being the same guy every single day, not changing up on nobody, not having different energy, not because maybe it's not my day going on, even though I had a broken foot, I didn't feel good all the time, but I still had to go into practice, whether I was going in on crutches or a little scooter, whatever the case may be, I still had to go to practice and still got to smile and cheer everybody up.
The next question that we have here kind of is along those lines, because I think that for those of us who didn't know from the outside looking in, it did look like the leadership piece did come naturally for you. The next question here, the screen name is TU1834, and his question is, I'd like to know what motivates Khalif to interact with fans so much on social media and what it was like to have to watch and tweet along with the rest of us during his injury. Because I again, you'd rather be out there playing, but we started hearing from fans like, hey, have you seen KB tweeting, live tweeting during games? It's entertaining. It keeps us, he's really engaged. It's cheering people up. It looks like something that you really had fun with, but you definitely seem to be a very active cheerleader and really engaged. Was that just something that came naturally for you?
Yeah, because people got to remember that, every single day you spend every single day, every moment, really, every day with your teammates. If I don't see you in the gym at night, I'm gonna see you when I get back home we sleep at night. Mm-hmm. Or I'm gonna see you at practice in the morning. I'm gonna see you in class. I'm gonna see you in study hall. We spend every single moment with each other. So you end up building a bond with these guys that's gonna last forever. And you just want them to succeed. I've never been a selfish person in my life. I just want the best for all the guys. I tweet because it's also important because, just as important as for us to bond, it's important with the fans to bond with us also because, they still support us. And a lot of our wins is based off the crowd also. The crowd brings energy and the fans bring energy, and we need all the support we can get because I think we could be one of those top schools that have a tradition of winning. I think we had an early tradition of winning, and we're trying to get back to that right now. But I think with the fans, with the help of the fans and us working hard, I think we can do that. So that's why I'm always, trying to grab the fans or the players to, always be in contact or know what we're doing or just staying in contact with everybody.
His follow-up question was, he said, if you guys have time to ask him this, the video of Caleb falling to the floor after the ECU buzzer beater was incredible. Could he take us into that moment? So he's talking about, one of the game winners that Damian Dunn hit this year. And again, people saw that video and fans, obviously they're excited that you guys win, that Dame really started to take on that role of hitting big shots, but people noticed that too. It was just a fun moment. And again, you're really engaged. What's your memory of that game? Because I remember a couple people were thinking, oh, he fell to the floor. Oh, he's got an injured foot. I hope he's okay.
Yeah, I was good. I told him before the game started, I said, hey, you're going to have 30 in the game winner tonight. He ain't believe me. I said, you're going to have 30 in the game winner tonight. And he kind of smiled at me. He said, word, all right, cool. And then for it to happen, I was so happy for him that I tried to get up and run. I forgot I had a broke foot. I tried to get up and try to celebrate with the guys. Everybody rushed him. I couldn't do it. So as soon as I put pressure on my foot, it just collapsed. I just fell. I just smiled because, that's every moment you dream about as a kid. And for him to lift to that moment was a big deal for me. Just looking at it.
The last mailbag question we have here, the screen name is Joe Becca, and his question is, with the young players having stepped up so well in your absence, how do you see everyone's talents working together next season? So I think that's another thing that's on everybody's mind is, there's a lot of talent, as you know, in that backcourt, and you come back to Dame, Jeremiah Williams. We know what he's done on both ends of the floor. The way that Jaleel White has taken off, Hysier Miller, Zach Hicks. There's a lot of offense and a lot of shots to go around there. I'm sure you guys talk about this, but I guess it's a fun problem to have. Like, how do you, and it'll happen over the next several weeks, several months. Is that a fun problem to have? Like, how do you guys start to piece that together and say, we got a pretty loaded backcourt right there, and now we got to figure out, how it all fits together?
It's a great problem to have because, at any point, there's so many weapons on the floor that you got to guard all five guys. Mm-hmm. Now, a lot of people in the country have a team where they have to guard all five guys and to be worried about all five guys that they can really do damage. So, just gelling together during the summer. We're probably going to start playing pickup as a team just to get in there. I'm going to have everybody just get in there and play pickup. The more we play with each other, the more we get accustomed to what we like to do, what our spots are. So probably in about 2 weeks, we're probably going to do that. But I'm excited for next season. What's to come, what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a lot of success for us as a team. And I'm not going to be surprised about it when it happens. We had half a team a lot of the times this year. We were playing without 3-4 starters sometimes, and we were still winning games. So that just tells you a lot about, what's to come next year when we put everything together. And through all that, the guys stepped up who never played college basketball before, and they still finished fourth in the conference. So, and they had no experience. So now when you mix in their experience now from this year going into next year, and you mix the experience from the people that are already out, some magic's going to happen.
Caleb, I wonder if you can just kind of follow up on that. Your first year here was rough, right? And then coming into this season, you say, hey, that was an outlier. We're going to be a lot better this year. Is it just as simple as, hey, these guys needed to learn how to play together and people needed to get used to the college level? Or was there something else that might have just clicked? Or was it really just familiarity on the team?
They had to get used to the college level. My freshman year, going from high school, my senior year in high school, I was averaging close to 25 points a game. I was averaging like 24, something like that, 24 points a game. And then going to playing in the Big East, it was a big difference because you're playing against grown men now. You're not playing against kids that's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old no more. You're playing against guys who are like 23, 24. So, we even played against a guy who was 25. So it's a big difference. And then for them to just come in and be ready to play, it shows their maturity. And they had to learn fast, So I give them a lot of credit. But now they have to pick up off that. They can't be satisfied with what they did this year because it's just the tip of the iceberg. And, we're trying to, sky's the limit. We're trying to make magic happen. Like I said, we're trying to do the ultimate. My goal eventually, is I want to win a national championship. And I think that's everybody's goal. So, now we got to go on a run. We got to win games, be mature, win games, go on a tournament run, and hopefully we can do that.
That's actually a great segue. The next question we kind of had on here as a note is, are you the type of guy to kind of establish goals during the off season? Are you like, hey, look, I have, 7 months here until my next game. I want to accomplish A, B, and C. I want to get better at doing X, Y, and Z. And if so, kind of what are your goals individually during this off season?
My goal is just be the best I could be, honestly. I mean, whatever happens with doing that is great, but really I just want team success. And then, with team success comes with, individual player success. So the more we win as a team, the more we get as players, and everybody wins. The coach is happy, the fans are happy, people who, the front office or whoever organizes our stuff is happy. Everybody's happy. So, I mean, I don't really have no individual goals. I'm just going to try to be the best player I can be. My goal is just to be the best. I mean, my goal is to be the best guard in the country, the best player out on the floor every single day. That's my goal. I mean,
oh god,
everybody's goal is different. I hope everybody comes with that same mindset. I want to be around dogs every single day. That's gonna, push me to be better. And I'm gonna push them to be better also. But I mean, that's really our goal, just to, be on that trophy at the end of the year.
Kip, I wanted to ask you about some of the other guys on the roster, because I mean, not only were you the leading scorer before you got hurt, but now again you've had the ability to sit back, watch, and kind of coach these guys up, and this roster as well as anybody else. And I wanted to ask you about Jeremiah. You went through more of a high profile recruiting process before you went to Butler and then transferred to Temple. Jeremiah, I think we can safely say now, was really under recruited, and we'd heard about Chris Clark going to see him right before the pandemic hit, and he was playing at Simeon High School, really good program out in Chicago, but he was a steal based on what he's giving you guys now. How have you seen him just come along as a player? I mean, like I said earlier, I mean, yeah, his offense is coming along, but just what you see him do on defense as a facilitator, how have you seen him just come along as an overall player since you've been around him?
I mean, he continues to get better because there's a chip on his shoulder. I think the best guys, whether you're small or whatever you are, guys who are often overlooked are, always have a chip on the shoulder. And if you look in the NBA, the best players always got a chip, like guys who were either that weren't as recruited as much as everybody else. You got the rare guys, like you got the LeBrons, you got the KDs, but then you got the guys like Steph Curry went to Davidson, he has a chip on his shoulder. Klay Thompson went to Washington State, he had a chip on his shoulder. Damian Lillard, Weber State, chip on his shoulder. CJ McCollum, Lehigh, all the greatest guys in the NBA really have a chip on their shoulder. They weren't given anything. A lot of times when you're given stuff at an early age, maybe you don't work as hard for it because you think you're deserving of it. But that's not Jay Will. Jay Will's going to work for whatever. And we had this discussion. We always say we're just going to get it out the mud. If you looked at where we were last year, nobody would have thought we would have had a season like this, especially with the injuries this year, and it's only going to go up. Everything we do, we're just going to get it out the mud. We're not giving anything. We want everything the way it's going to come to us. You just got to work for it. That's the only thing we know how to do, and that's what we're going to do. So, I mean, that just shows how great he's going to be as a player in the future, and how great he's going to be next season. Because all of us, for me, Dame to Jay Will, we all had a battle. We're all battling injuries. Jay Will just got his shoulder done. Dame with his ankle. Everybody's still healing, but we're still itching to play basketball. Like we talk about all the time. We were just in the locker room before I left out, and we were talking about, man, we could just figure this part out. How special can we be? Because I mean, my whole career with them, I probably played about maybe 14 games, all three of us together, 14 in 2 years, and we're doing what better. So we could just get a complete season of just all of us together. I mean, all three of us have that chip, and the other guys in the locker room have that chip also. I don't even think Jay Will is the only person in our locker room that was overlooked. I think Jalil was. I think Zach was. I think Asir. I think everybody in the locker room was really overlooked. Nick Jordan, and you just see the development, and every year they get better. So that just shows you what type of players we have in the locker room.
Caleb, Dame was probably, if you guys had an established player on this team, it was probably Dame after the amount that he played last year. So I guess I'm just kind of curious, what did you see from him that led to him having so much of a better sophomore year than their freshman year? Was there something you saw that he really worked hard on, that he improved upon? Or is it like everybody else where it's, hey, you finally got a chance to play some basketball?
I mean, he stays in the gym. But I think it was also really experience, and it's a hunger and desire to want to get better. Dave and I are a lot alike, because once we fail, it's like we're not afraid to fail, but once you go through those trials and tribulations, you're always going to come back even stronger from that. Like, one of my trials and tribulations was dribbling the ball off the foot in the conference tournament. That pain and that desire, that hunger had me in the gym. As soon as I got back home, I haven't left from there. I didn't leave the gym as soon as we got back from Texas. And then Dame's the same way. As soon as he was up and not hurt no more, he was right in the gym with me. Everybody just wants to get better. And, this basketball thing doesn't last forever. So you just want to try to milk as much as you can from it while it's still here. And, you see it from Dame. There's times where he looked completely unstoppable out there on the court. And that's just the beginning for where he's going to be. It's only been 2 years for him, so.
Wanted to ask you about Zach and Hysier Miller. I'll start with Zach. I mean, obviously, again, anybody can see that he can really shoot the ball, but what also seemed to come around with his game was rebounding and buying in and rebounding the ball and defending too. I remember we got to see one of the early season practices, and Aaron was really getting on him and saying essentially, like, I hear you talk in the locker room, I hear you talk around the facility, but when you're out on the floor, I need you to talk to and communicate more. Did that come along with time with Zach too? Because again, in addition to his shooting, it looked like he was really just, again, starting to get it at both ends of the floor. And I'm just curious, what you saw with him this year.
I mean, I saw exactly that. I mean, it was one time I remember early in the year when he was struggling a little bit, and I had walked home. I walked him back to we live in the same apartment, so I walked him back to our apartment, and I just had a heart to heart with him. I told him, I asked him what he wanted from the game, and I asked him if he thought about when you were a senior in high school, did you ever think that you'd be playing right away in college? And then I asked him, how good does he want to be? And every answer was a good answer, because after that conversation, he kind of took off. It was like he just needed a little push. And Coach knows that too. Coach knows who to talk to and how to talk to them. He's hardest on the guys that have the most potential. So, he's definitely hard on Zach, because he knows how good Zach can be. And I think Zach is starting to understand how good he can be. And I think part of being a really good player is doing all the little things. So, I mean, shooting's not going to work every single night. I had my times where I struggle making shots. So you got to do other things. You got to rebound. You got to defend. You still got to play defense. You got to talk on the floor. And I think once he learns all those things and can apply it at all times, when it's all working at one time, it's going to look spectacular. So I think that's what he's just gaining right now with he got through his freshman year. So now next year, he knows what to do. And now he already has the answers to the test. So.
Mm-hmm. What about Hysier? I mean, again, a guy that was probably fairly ready to play as a true freshman, but played even more because of the injuries. We heard so much about how tough he is, how, anybody who knows him will say, like, he's 18 going on 30, just kind of like an old soul. And he fills in and plays some important minutes for you guys. What did you see from him?
I said it's a pit bull. Mm-hmm. That's what I see from him. He's a pit bull. He's like a dog. He bites you. He's not going to let go. He don't believe in just winning. He wants to step on your neck and just growl and all. Like, he's a dog, man. I love Hysier because he's not going to back down for nobody. He's not going to look up to anybody. He's just going to do what he does, and it works. He's always in the gym. As soon as we flew back from Texas, I was walking in the gym at night, and I saw him already in there, sweating and dripping sweat all over the place. So, that showed me what type of person he is. He's just a grinder. Another person that hasn't been given anything, just everything earned, just works for everything. And, in the beginning of the year, he wasn't even playing for real. So for him to just be thrown out there and to do so well, it shows how tough of a kid he is. And it shows, like, okay, like, now he did that this year. Now we know what to expect next year. Now, when you're in the fire, you already been in it, so it should be nothing no more. So that's what I said.
Caleb, with situations like that, like obviously like a guy like Kaiser, you see him on his visit, you see him, you see his tape, but then you don't really get to actually experience him until he's on campus. How quickly does it take for you to realize, like, all right, this guy's, like you said, like he's a pit bull, like this guy has that type of attitude? Are you able to kind of sense those things out quickly, or is it more just they have to prove it to you over time?
I mean, yeah, I do, because like, especially when it's like new people in there, I try to like go at them, try to punk them. If you back down, then it's gonna take some time for me to like really like, okay, then I trust them with this. Usually I try to go at everybody and try to see if they're gonna back down from me. You know, if you don't back down and you handle your own and you do well, then I got all the respect for you in the world. And that's what he did. You know, he didn't back down from me. He's a competitor just like I am. So that's how he earned my respect since he walked in the doors.
Now, a guy that you've known for a little longer, Nick Jourdain, I remember the quote earlier in the season where he said, if you guys could just see how far he's come since he was sitting at the end of the bench on AAU, you'd be so impressed. What I'm kind of curious about with him beyond his basketball development was he always that type of guy that, you know, is ripping a jersey on the court, or were you always seeing that kind of energy from him even years ago, or is that a recent development?
It's a little fire in there. I'm trying to bring it out a little bit more, but I'm trying to control it at the same time. You know, you want that competitive, that fire that he brings, that he wants to do well. Sometimes, you know, he could have handled that situation a little bit better with ripping the jersey. But I mean, I like, you know, he's gonna play hard. He's gonna block shots, and he's still learning. You know, it's like it's not easy for him because you can put him in so many different positions that sometimes he even has to play the five. And a lot of times, a lot of the fives that we play against are bigger than he is, but he doesn't back down from it. So, you know, I mean, Nick is everything I thought he was going to be. He's just going to get that much better. I mean, he can put the ball on the floor, he can shoot it, he can get tickets to the rim, and he's just getting better. When he gets out of that shell, it's like a little shell that right now that he's in. When he gets out of that shell, sky's the limit for Nick. You know, I don't know if he knows how good he can be, or how good he's going to be. I tell him all the time, I don't think you know how good you can be. I mean, I think Nick is a program changer. You can't really teach that size, the athleticism at that size. So once he just breaks that shell down, I mean, he's gonna be everything he wants to be in life.
Caleb, you mentioned Jaleel White earlier, another guy that was really kind of under recruited. And again, I remember when he committed, you know, his high school teammate at Wildwood Catholic, Taj Tweet, you know, initially was recruited to go to West Virginia, and he's transferred since then. There were a lot of people saying, hey, you know, with all due respect, Temple might have gotten the better player there. And Ja obviously had a pretty good, you know, first season after coming off the meniscus injury. Again, another guy who's versatile and can do a lot of things. We had him on the podcast right before the Houston game, and he seems like he's kind of like even keel, doesn't get too high, too low. Is he another guy who's really kind of just scratching the surface of what he can do and just trying to gain confidence as he goes on?
Yeah, I mean, you don't really know how good he could be also. A lot of these guys don't. It's probably because they've always been overlooked, you know? But I mean, that's where the chip comes in also for him to go hard. So, you know, he's going to get a lot better next year. It's a lot of things he has to do to get better, but, you know, just like all of us do. So, I mean, he's going to get in, he's going to work, he's going to become better. But that's another guy that you could throw anywhere. You know, he's a big guy, big guard, 6'8", big hands, can guard anybody, 1-5. So it's like we got so many guys that have so many things to their game that it's kind of hard, you know, not to. Right now, we're trying to figure out, okay, when can we put this guy here? When can we put this guy there? It's like so many weapons we can use right now. So I think that's the exciting part. But, you know, it's just got to equal the wins. So I think Jalo's going to be a major part of what we do. And I'm excited to see what he has to do next year.
What about a guy like – oh, go ahead, Kyle.
No, go ahead. You're good.
What about Emmanuel Okpomo? I know he was injured and he's still coming along. And I think the staff knew that he was going to be a guy that was going to take some time to come along when he was coming as a transfer from Wake, but played a little bit more like in that USF game and started to flash a little bit more. Again, you see him more than anybody else does. What's possible for him? I mean, Aaron talks about, we want to be able to play inside out. And I know that they'll probably look to the portal to try to add a couple of guys there to add some front court help. But when you look at him, what do you see in terms of the potential?
He has a lot of potential. He has really long arms. Has good body, and he's still young. So it's got some limit for him. Also, he has to just stay the course. Everybody goes to that time where they're not really like playing. I went through it. Dane went through it. Everybody goes through it. Everybody goes through a time where they got to fight to win on the court. And right now, he's just fighting. He's going to continue to fight, and he's going to be a major part of our success.
Khalif, just from a non-Temple perspective, I know earlier on you talked about, hey, I'm from North Jersey. Like, I have this shell. I'm wondering with North Jersey, what are your thoughts on St. Peter's this year? A lot of guys that you probably grew up against or played against. I know Doug with Bergen Catholic. So what are your kind of thoughts on that?
Doug, Daryl Banks, we played AAU. Me, him, Nick played AAU together. He had 27 the first game. I'm happy for all those guys. I remember Coach Shaheen Holloway. He recruited me in high school. He was an assistant at Seton Hall. So I know all those guys. I'm happy for them. They're well deserved. It's always great to see somebody from people from where you're from doing really well. I hope they beat Purdue too. I hope they win the whole thing. Go to the Final Four. You don't really see that around here because a lot of New Jersey, a lot of people from New Jersey don't really go to Jersey schools. We kind of go elsewhere. But if North Jersey people stick together and we all went to the same schools, it's magic. Magic can happen. That's what's happening with them right now. It's tough guys, not going to back down from anybody. We're so used to playing with each other that it's like I bet you that when they went to they was each other. I have a player from my high school, Charles Reed. He plays there now. It's just everybody knows each other, so it's like hooping at home. It's like hooping in high school again with all your guys. But you just stay together for so long that eventually you're gonna start winning.
Does that kind of fuel you a little bit when you're like, hey, I played with this guy when I was 14, and now he has a chance to advance to the the Elite Eight? Does that kind of just add more motivation?
I take everything personally, so yeah, it definitely does. So seeing those guys, I'm happy for them, but I'm ready for it to happen for myself also. So I'm just gonna keep my head down, just keep working. Definitely gonna cheer them on, of course. But like I said, we want our own success also. So I'm waiting for Temple to get there. We're gonna get there eventually too.
Caleb, you mentioned you were talking about Aaron earlier, Aaron McKee, your head coach, and you had alluded to the fact like he kind of knows what guys to talk to and at the right times. And when Aaron became a head coach, he was pretty honest in saying, it's not like once he retired, he knew he wanted to get into coaching right away. And sometimes he'll say, I'm an old school guy and I want these guys to be old school. And sometimes I have to learn to be patient. And there's a lot that goes into it. How have, obviously, again, like I said, things seem to be headed in the right direction. And he said, I think after that USF game, he said, we were picked, whatever it was, 8th in the preseason polls, but we fell a little bit short of our goals. But he sounds hungry. He sounds really excited, but he's always pretty honest in saying that he's kind of evolving as a head coach. What have you seen from him from the time that you got to Temple as a transfer to now? What's he like as a coach, as a guy who's like with you guys on the court, off the court? How has he evolved as a head coach since you've been here?
He's still competitive, super competitive. Where at times me and him may bump heads when we're so competitive sometimes. Like let's say it's supposed to be 5 more possessions in practice. He'll do something where somebody will go up by 1 and he would just call practice and then go on to another drill. And I'll be pissed off because like I'm mad because I wanted to win. Mm-hmm. We'll bump heads right there. But he's a really good guy. I'm close to him off the court and on the court. We built a relationship where we understand each other. He rides me like crazy. I probably definitely get it the worst out of everybody in terms of, me doing something little will turn into a big deal. But that's probably just because he expects so much from me. So, it's cool. We understand each other. We talk. And now we're just on the same format where we just want to win. So, we understand what has to be done and now we just got to do it.
With Aaron, what you just talked about there, is it kind of a situation where, kind of like John Chaney used to be with guys, he'll stay on you more because he knows what you're capable of. And guys in the past have talked about sometimes if my head coach isn't talking to me as much, maybe he's kind of moving on to the next guy in the rotation. But it seems like, what you're talking about, he stays on you more. Is it because he's trying to push you to get the most out of you?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, he definitely tries to push me to get the most out of me. It's like you can't even go. I can't go to like one of the assistants because they're on the same page as he is. So it's like everybody's on me at all times. It's never a time where somebody's not on me or tries to hold me accountable. So if maybe somebody else messes up, they might get a little punishment. If I mess up, it's like I ain't gonna stop. I'm not going.
Just a final question to wrap things up here. And again, I really appreciate your time. I know a lot of guys, and I think we might have talked about this before last time we had you on. What do you do off the court? What is Khalif Battle like off the court when he's not playing basketball or practicing? Is there stuff that people wouldn't know about you? Anything that you don't get the chance to talk about all the time that you wish you could talk about more?
I mean, I do a little bit of everything. I like scenery. I kind of try everything. I mean, I play video games sometimes. I play video games. I love movies and TV shows. I love trying new foods. That's probably where you're gonna find me number one out of anything else. Definitely somewhere trying some new food. I've been in the studio with some of the guys sometimes making music. That was fun. I do a little bit of everything. I ain't gonna lie to nobody. I don't know. I like a little bit. I'm like a little nerdy off the court a little bit. I like Harry Potter. I have a wand. I like stuff like that,
That's tremendous.
I'm a little different from everybody else. I don't really care to be myself. All the guys know that I have a unique personality where I could just get along with anybody. I kind of look to see if I can find something that somebody can relate to me a little bit, and I'm always open to find new things, try new things. I mean, go to a museum. I love that. Aquariums, learn about fish. I like all that stuff. I mean, it's nothing that I really won't do, but I mean, it has to be surrounded around the time where I'm in the gym also. So really, I'm just really in the gym. So
you have a favorite new restaurant that you've tried?
Favorite new restaurant? In Philly, probably. I mean, Coach McKee put me on. I would have never ate like this if it was by myself. But Del Frisco's probably my favorite. Shout out to Coach McKee for that one. But I mean, I like to go to I like Square 1682 or 1642, something like that. Yeah, that's really good. I took the guys there. I put them on. You should ask them about that. I definitely put them on the duck wings. They would have never tried duck if it wasn't for me. I just took my dad to this place called Dig In or whatever it's called downtown. He like that. He's a healthy eater, so we had that. That's good. I like Jamaican food, Jamaican D's. It's really good in West Philly. That's a lot of it. I keep going. Mexi Italy, South Street, Lorenzo's Pizza, HQ Bibble, South Street also. Really good place. Green Eggs Cafe, breakfast. I can keep going. I got a lot of places. I don't know. It's just
good, man. You're pretty much getting all over the city. I'm impressed. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I definitely get around, especially during the summer. I just never a time. They need to give me some NIL deals, man. I'll be happy to support. You know what I'm saying?
Talk to Arthur Johnson about that. I'm sure you could. Something you guys can work out. Caleb, it's been a lot of fun. Best of luck to you. I'm glad you're recovering from the injury, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
All right, thank you.
A big thank you to Khalif Battle for joining us on the Scoop this week. What stood out to you from the interview? I mean, he's just a fun guy to talk to. We were able to go up and down the roster with him. Did not expect to hear that he has a wand from Harry Potter. Who am I to judge? I have not seen any of the Harry Potter movies. That's a blind spot.
You're too old. It's not a blind spot. You're just too old. You weren't the target demo. I mean, the people that went and saw the movies were people that read the books when they were 11, 12 years old and so on. When Harry Potter came out, you were 22 years old. If you were out reading Harry Potter at 22, then instead of, whatever 22-year-olds do in the city, then that would be concerning. I think that stood out. I think we talked about it a little bit. I like the fact that he said he likes to learn about fish and stuff. He rattled off about 40 restaurants in Philadelphia, all throughout Philly. I feel like a lot of people just focus on, hey, I'm going to be on campus. I'm going to be in Center City. No, bullseye around the city. And to be honest, I kind of followed up on this because I was curious I think you could tell when he was talking about St. Peter's to an extent that I like those guys and I have a relationship with those guys, but I want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of followed up and did you take this personally? Because he said yeah, Like
Mhm.
that's 100% of motivation to me is like, I'm happy for their success, but it's time for my success. And
Mhm.
like, I can understand it's being frustrating to him because like, look, he's entering his 4th year of college basketball now. And he's only been healthy for one of them when he didn't really play. So I think it's just, you're starting to see that it's starting to boil over a little bit. And I think he's starting to expect that it's finally going to bear fruit.
Yeah. And again, I mean, he talked also about how Aaron likes to get on him. They're both competitive. And he said, if there was that anecdote there, he said, if one guy does something, it's whatever. If I do something, I'll never hear the end of it. But that kind of gives you the indication that Aaron does stay on top of, like a lot of coaches do. They really stay on guys that they wanted to get the best out of. But and we were talking about this just before we resumed the pod. It was funny, earlier in the conversation, he said, I'm from North Jersey, and he was talking, unfortunately, about his friend whose life was taken, and it's obviously a shame. He was talking about how, he kind of softened him up because he said, guys from North Jersey, we don't always go out of our way to say hi to you. And then by the end of the interview, he was like, I'm open to anything. I'll go anywhere. I go to these restaurants. I'm watching Harry Potter. I'll engage with you here and there. So he's always a really, really enjoyable guy to talk to. And obviously he's going to be a huge part of what Temple can do next year, and talking about how they can fit all the pieces together. So just thought there was a lot of good stuff there. So we really appreciate him, coming on the podcast this week and giving his time to us. Want to talk a little spring ball. We've got some football mailbag questions to get to. And, again, we've talked to you in previous episodes about how spring ball coverage is going. It's, talking to Stan Drayton, before practice. And for the most part, it's been our guys down there, our reporters down there talking to Stan. And he even said this the other day. And if you check out Javon's story from Tuesday, and I think it might've been Dante who followed up about Zach Gill, North Carolina transfer. And, there's this clip here where, Stan said he's got a lot of work to do. The one thing you're going to notice about me is that those kinds of questions are going to get answered the same way every time, because there's a standard for Zach Gill as well as everyone on this football team that they're nowhere near right now. And, for us as reporters, it's not the most exciting thing in the world, but it seems abundantly clear that Stan Drayton is not coming in. And, as Devon likes to say, throwing flowers at everybody and saying, this guy's going to be all conference. I like this. I like this. It's kind of sprinkling in stuff here and there. And he seems to be very judicious about saying, okay, seen a little bit here, but I'm kind of measuring it. And he just seems to be taking a very systematic approach to spring ball. Is that how it seems to you, just in terms of not getting too high or too low about anything?
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is probably, we've talked about this because we've covered so many different coaches at this point, is I feel like whenever you talk to a coach who's in like their first 6 months of being a head coach versus when you talk to them in year 4 is drastically different. I think a lot of it's probably him still just feeling out the role and feeling out the roster. I mean, he's seeing guys that, hey, yeah, Zach Gill might have looked good in 1 or 2 practices, but that's also 30% of the times I've seen him play live football.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's such a small sample size that I think the last thing you want to do is kind of put your foot in the mouth of somebody and say, well, wait till you see this guy. He reminds me of Terrell Owens. And then it turns out to be that he was just a spring football phenom. Mm-hmm. But as far as the standard is the standard. So I think you're starting to see a little bit of Stan Drayton's take on, Pittsburgh Steelers philosophy, where it's, look, everyone has a standard, and the standard is the standard, and we're just going to keep throwing out buzzwords, and we're going to figure out what happens. Yep. I don't know. For the most part, I think it's been pretty much exactly what Temple fans would hope for. It's been probably a closer return to the norm than the last, honestly, even prior to Rod Carey. I mean, even like Jeff Collins wasn't exactly running spring practices like this. Jeff Collins was quick to point out that, oh, this guy looks like blah, blah, blah. And he famously, when he went down to Georgia Tech, said that Jahmyr Gibbs was Reggie Bush. Yeah. Prior to him having ever played a college football snap. So I think this is probably, in general, we're 3 months into the Stan Drayton era. I think the feels and the vibes are probably closer to 2013, 2014, 2015 than it is to 2019, 2020, etc.
Yeah, I think though, if you're a fan, the thing that you're maybe most encouraged about right now is just the vibe. Even if people can't be down there, if you're a fan, you probably like what you're hearing, right? Even last week, Stan Drayton said, I think Sam asked him have you had a chance to talk to Hassan Reddick since he signed with the Eagles? And he said, I haven't, but my chief of staff, Everett Withers, has. And then literally later that day, Hassan's down there and he's posting video. And we go on to see that, Matt Hennessy's been down there. I think he even mentioned that Deion Dawkins had been there. Chris
Julian Taylor.
Yeah. And they,
Sharif Finch.
yeah. And they seem to get it. And, I've talked to Adam DeMichael about this on the other pod that I do with him, that Believe in Temple Football podcast. And Adam said, look, we, as a staff, including himself on the previous staff, minus this past season, we'd said, we got to get around to getting more guys around. COVID did impact that. But after a while, we know there was just too much of a vibe, like doesn't feel as welcoming down there. And this staff has very, very much made the effort to, make it an open door policy. And again, before you know it, Reddick's down there addressing the team, and they've got that going for him. But again, if you're reading the tea leaves, I think Stan Drayton, again, it's not always the most exciting content for us as reporters, but I'm getting the vibe of a guy that's just very, again, judiciously looking at the roster, saying, okay, it's probably a rebuild. We got to see what's going on in each position here. There's no single position where you say right now, as of late March, like they're good there, including
honestly, the position group that I would have thought they were most comfortable with is the one that he keeps bringing up, that, hey, they got a lot of work to do, the linebackers. Yeah. Like there's so many returns to linebackers, you would have thought, like, well, they could probably piece this together. And it seems like every time Stan Drayton says, like, no, they have a lot to go. They're nowhere close to establishing who's the starters and stuff like that. So it is what it is. Every time you mention your other podcast, I envision a scenario where we sponsor your other podcast. So it's like the Believe in Temple Football,
brought to you
presented by Allscoop.com, presented by the Scoop, presented by Allscoop.com. And we just circle down and we start laundering money that way.
Presented by Del Frisco's, mentioned by Khalif Battle in this week's episode.
Season 4 of Ozark, or season 5 of Ozark will just be us laundering money via podcasts.
Things have taken a weird turn for those guys, what people will be saying. Again, we do have a couple of football mailbag questions to get to here in a second. One of them here, again, there's a couple of basketball ones that we got to already with Khalif Battle. Any intel? This is from Green Street Al from the message board. Any interesting intel from Temple's Pro Day? So again, as we mentioned at the outset of the scoop, we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon / evening. Our guys are still down there. Again, I don't think we're breaking any news when we say this. I don't think there's a surefire draftable guy on the roster right now. Like Amir Tyler's down there. If you're Amir Tyler, you're elated if you get drafted, maybe a late round guy, or you end up in somebody's camp. Dante Colin Elliott texted us and said it looked like Will Kwenku tested well today. Randall Jones did not show up at Pro Day. We're not sure why. Anthony Russo was there today with his former teammates.
That's the interesting part. Anthony Russo just came back. Like, I mean, I guess it's, look, the staff is gone, and I don't feel the animosity or whatever it might be if there were any burnt bridges that's gone. But it's interesting that Anthony Russo participating in 2 different Pro Days.
Right, that'll do it for the mailbag this week. Again, we appreciate Khalif Battle being with us. We'll have more spring football coverage in the days to come. Start talking to the assistant coaches next week. Danny Langsdorf, DJ Elliott, Adam Shire, the special teams coordinator. Spring games coming up pretty soon. We'll get some players to talk to as well. Again, if you have not subscribed to allscoop.com, you're missing out on some good stuff. And in addition to our spring football coverage, some recruiting coverage, bit of an interesting week with recruiting coverage. Caden Steele had talked to Nikhil Bertrand from Northeast High School, talked to him on Monday, and he told Caden that his recruitment was still open. Less than a day later, verbally commits to Colorado. Some fans don't understand that Caden was just following the process there, and obviously would not have written the story had he already committed to Colorado. So, and then he talked to Gensley Augusta from West Orange High School. That story's up on the site right now.
He is also committed to Colorado.
No. I was joking around with Caden saying, what if this becomes the Caden curse? Like every recruit you talk to, they commit somewhere else the next day after telling you that they're still months away from committing.
How long would it take if you're Caden Steele to realize, like, I'm a god, I have the power to do this? Like, I feel like 1 time's a one-off, 2 times is a coincidence. Once it happens like 6 or 7 times, you're like, I'm in Groundhog's Day.
I affect real things in life. I don't
I'm
know.
gonna learn to play the piano. I'm gonna sleep with Elaine. It's not Elaine. Who's the girl in Groundhog's Day? It's
Oh, I was gonna say, are you confusing it with Seinfeld? Well, it's
no,
Andy
I mean,
McDowell. It's Andy
it's a
McDowell.
similar dynamic.
Yeah, it's Andy McDowell
That's
in Groundhog Day, but I forget her. I forget, and she looks like Julia Louis-Dreyfus. The long.
That's what I'm
black
saying.
hair.
Like it wasn't a ridiculous mistake on
I
my end. They look
forget
very
what her
similar.
name. I forget what her character's name was in Groundhog Day, but it's a solid reference there. Now you're looking. Now you're looking it up. I forget what her actual name was. It wasn't the movie, but
Well, her actual name.
chances are
Nancy. Nancy? No, not Nancy. Who the hell is it?
chances are
Rita.
yes.
Rita Hansen.
Yes, chances are Caden has not seen Groundhog Day, but we'll ask him next week. So again, we'll have some pro day coverage for you. Again, stay tuned for more recruiting coverage, and again, some more spring ball coverage. We'll try to get you more guests in the coming weeks, and we will talk to you soon.